Oh my gosh, I'm so glad to have you on my show. Well, welcome, and for those of you in YouTube land, this is your girl Tona Brown, and I am so excited to talk to someone that I've been working with here in Maryland, and that is Robin Fay Massie. Thank you so much for talking to my friends and family and fans on YouTube. So, you know, you are a classically trained violist.
Yes, ma'am.
And violinist.
Yes,
and then you say you took piano as well.
I did. I started at 5.
Did you?
Yeah.
So what was that like, you know, growing up, you know, being African American and deciding that you wanted to go into a style of music that is foreign to our culture?
You know, I am very blessed. I have a very supportive family. My parents, from the time I was 5, they saw I had interest in this piano that was sitting in my parents' friend's house. Okay. And I would always run over to this piano and just start playing on it, probably banging, whatever. But my parents took that as she's interested in it, whereas other people may have ignored it.
Okay.
And I started in lessons when I was 5. They never had to tell me to practice. I just
went
over.
At 5 years old.
Yeah, I mean, I loved it. And that's
right.
the thing. I think it's so important to, when you notice that a child has interest in something, you nurture that.
Yes.
And I'm very thankful that my parents did that. And that started a love affair with music.
Uh-huh. So you went from the piano to what next?
Oh, then I went to the violin.
Yay! Diva! Every diva has to play the violin.
Okay.
At some point in your life.
I'm sorry. The funny part was when I was in 3rd grade and, you know, they have all the instruments laid out and I was in line and I was always very tall growing up, and my teacher saw, he said, "Your hands are huge. What instrument do you want to play?" "I want to play the violin." It's like, okay. But anyway, so I started on the violin. I loved it, and I discovered the viola at 14.
And that you were at one with the sound of the viola. So tell my audience, what's the difference between a violin and a viola?
Well, I like to say that the viola is the violin's big sister.
I love it! Oh my god, you never told me that.
The viola is like, it's like the chocolate of the orchestra.
I agree. What a wonderful way of explaining that instrument. That's fabulous. So, okay, how did that happen though, that you started playing viola? Because you said you started in violin. So.
I did. I was really lucky. My teacher, he had been a violinist in the Baltimore Symphony, and he injured his hand at some point and had to stop performing, so he started teaching, but he taught himself how to play the viola. And so I used to go to his house every week, and my dad would take me for lessons, and I lived at this man's house. He was just like a mentor. Okay. And he had a viola laying around the house and said, "Well, no one's playing on it. Robin, do you want to try this out?" And I just picked it up, and as soon as I started playing, I mean, the sound just resonated with me, literally, and I felt like this is my voice. And any musician knows that when you find something that makes your soul sing, that voice, that's what you decide to do. So that moment, I was 14, I said, this is my voice. This is the voice I've been trying to create on a violin. Right. And it's not in the same range of viola's. Range is a little bit deeper, as you know.
That's right. And a lot of people don't know that I play viola as well. That was my minor, one of my minors in school. So yeah, so you start out, you played piano, you went to viola, and then you felt that that was your soulful, that was the instrument that really showcased your voice, your inner voice. And so I'm assuming you went through different programs. So what about your education?
Well, I actually I'm a product of the Howard County school system here in Maryland. Okay. So yes, thank you. Maryland particularly is wonderful about raising kids up through music and the arts and supporting that. And so I went through Howard County Gifted and Talented Orchestra and All-State Orchestra, and I was always in a position of leadership, which was a blessing for me because coming from, you know, non-musical family, I had to work very hard to get
Leadership in what way?
Just leading the viola section
That's
of
right.
those orchestras.
Okay.
And that's not something that, comes easily.
Mm-hmm.
Especially when you just switch, it's more something you work for. And
Right.
it was something that I loved to do.
Mm-hmm.
I loved to play. And so it was phenomenal to be surrounded by people who were of the same mindset,
Mm-hmm.
who loved music just the same, were dedicated and
Right.
practicing. And when I was 17, I had the opportunity to play at Carnegie Hall.
Wow. Congratulations.
It was amazing. It was with the All Eastern Orchestra, which is basically they select students from whose scores in their all-state auditions were the top in the state.
That's right.
And they go, and now it's not in Carnegie Hall anymore. So I was very lucky that I was there. And that experience changed my life. I cried the entire concert. And I said, I want to be a musician. And previously I said, I want to be a doctor because I wanted to heal. I wanted to help
Now
heal
that's
people.
interesting. So you want to be a doctor, so music wasn't the first thing that you wanted to do.
No, it was something I always loved,
Mm-hmm.
but I never thought of it as a career until that moment, that night in New York, and I just bawled the whole time.
Oh, well, do you even remember the repertoire you were playing?
We were playing Mahler 5, and that's...
Oh my gosh, that would make anyone bawl.
That's true.
Beautiful work.
It's gorgeous, so
It's long,
lush
too.
and long, yes,
Ooh.
and it's very challenging.
That's right.
Especially for high school kids, but it was life-changing. And
So after high school, where did you go to school?
I went to University of Maryland.
All right.
College Park. And I was
to Maryland.
Yes, I was a viola performance major and biology major. And
What?
I was
A biology major? Robin, I didn't know that.
It was very short-lived.
So how do you go from the practice rooms to the lab?
Look, I felt so
Dissecting things.
I felt so at home in the practice room, and when I would go and leave the School of Music, I felt like a turtle without his shell. I just felt this is not where I belong. I still love the idea of healing people and helping people, but maybe medicine is not the way to go.
And you do that, and I think anyone who hears you perform, which hopefully you'll play some Bach or something for us, they feel that and they sense that energy when you're playing, which is why I love to perform with you. And speaking of which, we performed behind some of the greatest artists in this area through New York, all genres. So tell us a little bit about that. Like, you primarily perform doing classical music, but you also have an EP, and it's on iTunes, correct? What is it called?
It's called Be Still, My Old School Soul.
It is beautiful. Go on iTunes, Be Still. Oh, it's just gorgeous. It's so glorious and gorgeous, and I was just so proud of you for just going and doing it. And I remember the proceeds were going towards something at that time when you first signed up. Is it still doing that, or did you guys change up?
Yes, it's all the proceeds go to Musicians of Mercy, which is another part of my life.
Exactly.
But it's a labor of love.
Right.
And Musicians of Mercy is basically a collective of musicians in the metropolitan area. We've been fortunate to have you join us. And it's very grassroots. It's just a bunch of us get together and we present concerts to benefit humanitarian causes. At home or abroad, depending on what's going on in the world. We started as a result of the earthquake in Haiti in 2010. And it was basically, I responded in an emotional way, like we all did. The only difference was I said, well, I have a gift. I don't have money, but I have friends, and we all have gifts, and we can use our gifts together.
And so what people don't realize is that I performed for the Hate or something concert. Yes. And what we do is the musicians get together and volunteer, you perform, and then the proceeds immediately go straight towards it. So it's like you do the concert and everyone has a big old love basket. It's very grassroots and it's very down to earth, and you should definitely check out a concert if you get a chance. Anytime you see MOM, Musicians of Mercy, if you see me post anything about it on Facebook, my Twitter, I'm on my way to go see it. It's because of this woman here. So you did mention before, going back a little bit, that you went to the University of Maryland. You're also conservatory trained as well.
Yes, ma'am.
So what conservatory did you go to?
I went up from Maryland. I went up to Boston to go to New England Conservatory.
Wow.
And I was doing my master's, and that was a very important time in my creative life.
Okay.
Because I left the nurturing environment of home. Being at University of Maryland was wonderful because I was close to home, and I was very sheltered, in a good way, sheltered with love.
Right.
And all of a sudden I found myself on my own in an environment that was very, in some ways progressive, in other ways very conservative.
That's right, that's right.
And
what was it like, though, being African American and going to a school like that? Because that's very important for us to talk about.
Yeah.
We as African American classical musicians have our own struggles, whether it's through the audition processes for symphony orchestra gigs, just being hired on freelance, just for freelance gigs. So those of us who have gone to conservatory, we all have our own stories about things that happened during that time. And I think it's meant to make you stronger.
Absolutely.
So what are some of the stories that you'd like to share from those days?
You know, I'm very grateful that I was surrounded by a small circle of friends who were very kind and loving and supportive. It was a harsh reality when I went there. The first day I went there, for instance, they welcome you into the school, which was wonderful, and everyone is acknowledged as you're an artist. If you're here, you're an artist, and that's a very good feeling for a musician. As musicians, we're very self-conscious, and we're always being judged and critiqued and compared, and it was nice to get that welcome. However, there were some students who looked at me and said, well, what are you doing here? How did you get here? It's a very competitive environment.
It is.
I got there the same way you got there. I practiced, okay? I mean,
not because of affirmative action.
Right, there was no affirmative action involved.
Right.
I worked my tail off my entire life.
That's right.
So those kinds of experiences shape you and at times break you. I remember I was studying very intensely my first year, and I was very discouraged. A lot of times when you go into any school and you start working with a new set of teachers, your technique and your training from the time you were started comes into question.
That's right.
And you are, at that moment, as a student, you have to become a filter rather than a sponge. I think when I say that, I mean that you begin to, you know, okay, I like this suggestion. This works for me.
That's right.
This one doesn't. This doesn't feel comfortable.
That's right.
Every musician has a voice. And a teacher who is trying to help you find that voice is the teacher for you.
That's right.
A teacher who is trying to change that voice or destroy that voice is not for you. I encountered both of those types of teachers in my experiences in conservatories, and I found that the ones who were supportive of me experimenting and taking risks in the lessons, outside of the lesson, those were the teachers who were the most influential for me. I remember specifically one moment I was in my favorite cafe, and I just had a really hard lesson, and I was crying. I just thought, I don't want to play the viola anymore. I don't know what I'm doing. And this girl came up to me and she said, what are you doing? Why are you crying? Get it together. We don't cry in music. Pick up the pieces and get back to work.
What?
I said, what? You don't even know me. But she was right.
She was right.
She was absolutely right. There is never a point in time when things should be so difficult that you want to give up and forget the dream that you had.
That's right.
The dream that got me there was the same dream that carried me through those difficult experiences. There were times there where I felt, not just in Conservatory, but even since then, you know, being looked at as an African American musician, you're put in a box. A lot of times people look at me and they say, "Oh, do you sing?" No. I wish I could sing like you.
Oh, okay. Or I love when they say, "Oh, is that a trumpet?"
Right. Is that a saxophone?
Is that a saxophone?
No, it's a viola.
Right.
I can teach you about it if you want.
Exactly.
You know.
Exactly. And you would love it if you opened up your mind to listen to it.
Absolutely.
Well, thank you so much for sharing about that, because those who know me know that I've had those same experiences with major teachers, and it is very difficult. I've walked out of lessons before where, you know, some of the comments would get very unprofessional. And again, those of us who are true artists do have your own way of playing or singing. And if someone just shreds it to pieces, not just the technical aspects, but your inner voice, as you were saying, is your style. In other words, for people who may not understand what we're saying, you know, everyone has their own style of communicating, and it might be to everyone's taste, and that's okay. But you don't take away that person's style of playing.
That's right.
And you know, now if you're playing something that's Baroque compared to something that's 21st century, there's a style that was done in those times. But that doesn't mean that you can't bring your own personal voice to what you're playing. And that was a huge problem for me as well. So you're definitely telling the truth in that regard. And you know, but again, just like your friend told you, you have to pick it up. You have to, you know, wipe the tears away and say, I'm going to do this regardless. Because after you get out of school, it's 10 times harder.
Which is another story altogether. Exactly. I loved being at a conservatory. From there, I went to Peabody in Baltimore, which is wonderful. You have to go in knowing what you want. You have to go in knowing who will be your mentor, who can guide your career to the place where you want it to go.
Well, who were your mentors?
Thank God I've had wonderful mentors. One of my first mentors was the one who introduced me to the viola. His name is Ron Smith.
Oh,
and to this day, he lives in New Mexico now. So he's, you know, he's one of my heroes. Another, Steve Wojcinski was my teacher at Peabody. He, and now he's just one of my closest friends. He looked at me and heard me play, and he heard beauty, he heard brokenness, he heard innocence, he heard everything that I was trying to bring as just a person, and helped me channel that into a way to which through my viola it became refined, to the point where I could take an audition for a symphony orchestra and feel confident that based on my skill set I should be able to succeed. And currently you are playing with? I play with a lot of groups around the area. I'm contracted with Delaware Symphony. Yay, Delaware! The assistant principal there, and it's a great musical family. Oh, and I've gone to about 3 concerts, I think. Love it, love it, love it. Thank you always do so well. And you've been doing some solos with various orchestras as well in the area. Playing with another great African-American violinist, Kelly Hall, and others. You've been very, very busy. And what has that been like, to go around and tour and to play solo and duos and stuff like that? Well, it's exciting. You're the expert on that. But it's exciting to know that you can do what you love to do and make a modest living. That's right. No artist goes into the music business trying to be rich. That's right. That's right. You really have to marry your profession. You have to love what you do. You have to have conviction. And that's really what I think the best gift any artist can have is conviction. That's when you are sure of what you're doing because you have the technique and you've put in the hours.
You've done the homework.
You've done the homework.
You know, we do all this talk, and
Yes.
there'll be some musicians that will watch this and think that they are just as great as we are, and deep down inside you can feel that way.
Yes.
But if you have not done the work,
That's right.
and as Shirley Verrett said to me very clearly, you must do your homework. Do your homework so you can have all of the confidence, and you can stand up in front of a conductor who has a world name and say, no, I would like to do it like this.
That's right.
You know, this is my interpretation. And I feel that that's one of the things that is making classical music so stagnant, is that everyone tries to do everything the same.
Yeah.
So we don't get to have what Isaac Stern, Yehudi Menuhin, Primrose, and others, they had a very unique way of playing things, so that if I used to play this game with another cellist, fine cellist, in Hampton Roads, and we would do a 14-second game. I don't know if you ever done this. And what we would do is we would turn on, down there it's what, 90.3 WHRO. We would turn on the radio, and then we would give each other 14 seconds to name the composer.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, the composer,
Yeah.
who was performing, the style, what period it was in. And we just did it for fun. The people who played blandly, you didn't know who they were. You were like, I don't know. But if Isaac Stern or Anne-Sophie Mutter or even Kathleen Battle would sing, or someone, I knew who it was. Leontine Price, you know, Shirley Verrett, whoever it was, I knew exactly who it was because of the way they would approach that role or that piece. And I want to see more of that happen with classical musicians. Yeah, we're losing it, and we're losing our audiences because people don't feel like they're hearing something special.
Absolutely.
That's just my personal opinion. And the other thing that I want to see, which I'm so proud of you, is that we need to take our art form and go into mainstream performance spaces. And you were so wonderful to accompany me in New York. We played for the Out Music Awards, and it was at a huge hall with 1,000 people, and we were the only classical group. And I'll never forget that, and I think that's one of the things that made my bond with you so special, because you didn't perform differently. You didn't say, oh, well, you know, this is just something that's not at Carnegie Hall. You took it, and we played that Vivaldi for their nerves. And had like a 4-minute standing ovation with a rock concert. It was a rock concert. People were rapping. People were doing all kinds of stuff. But that's what it's going to take.
That's
you know?
right.
And I'm so proud of our other sister, Chelsea Green.
Yes.
I mean, she's really going for it. Now, I had that inspiration from Karen Briggs. Karen Briggs was from Portsmouth. She used to perform with one of my teachers, and she went off to do jazz. So it was never something in my mind where I was like, I have to stay this way, because I had that with her. And so I think we need more of that.
Absolutely. I think as artists, you have to be a chameleon. You have to be willing to embrace the style in which you're performing. You have to be a rock star.
That's right.
Your people are looking at you, they're paying to watch you.
That's
You better give them a show. And that means, that's right, that means the way you dress, the way you carry yourself, the way you perform, the way you prepare. You know, you have to give the show. You have to be the show.
It has to be the center of attention.
Absolutely.
You
and
know,
as Richie Haven said, rest his soul, you know, as musicians, we're not in the show business only. We're in the communications business. You're bringing a message.
That's right.
And if you're not about that message, it's not clear.
And people are not going to be receptive.
That's right.
Now, there's a misconception as well that black people do not like classical music. And what I will say on that, because it's going to be a few other black classical musicians who are going to be on this series, not only is that false, but if we're not doing the work to get into the venues where we can get to more of our people, then how do we expect the younger generation to appreciate and love our art form?
That's right.
And it doesn't matter if we're playing jazz or whatever. people are used to that. But what we are communicating is not something that the majority of people really know about. But as soon as you give it to them with the honey, Jesus, the minute you give it to them with the honey, that not only do they respect it, but they're like, wait a minute, I like that. You know, but that's because we took the risk. Yeah. We're the type of artists that will take the risk and go into a library, go into a subway, go into Carnegie Hall, you know, play something here, and then take that same program and go over here.
That's right.
And I really appreciate that with your career, and watching your career just grow and blossom is just amazing. And you're also a newlywed. And I played for her wedding with the amazing cellist, Kevin Phillip Jones, who is our cameraman, so you can't see him. But that was such a lovely day. So tell us, how has that been? How long has it been now, you guys?
Oh my goodness, let's see. I think it's been about 6 months.
Wow.
And we're two peas in a pod.
Right.
It's wonderful to meet someone who loves you for who you are, not for what you do, not for what you look like.
That's right.
Or who you know. They love you for who you are. And my husband, Aaron, he's the male version of me. I mean, we met and it was literally love at first sight.
Aww.
And it's grown since then into an understanding, a mutual understanding of, you know, what this person needs to be the best person.
And he's very supportive of your career.
He's very supportive.
That's very hard to find for career-driven women, you know, and so that, I'm like, Aaron.
it's a blessing, and we use our gifts in ways that complement each other. He's a graphic artist.
Okay.
As a musician, a lot of times, you know, for different events, you need someone who's able to put a wonderful poster together to showcase this event. And so the two of us are not only married, you know, as man and wife, but also professionally. And
that's right. Whenever you see any posters from Musicians of Mercy, he's the one that does all the amazing graphics, correct?
Absolutely.
So that is examples of his fine work. And you have the bear! Oh my goodness. Your daughter. Tell us about her.
She is 6. She's about to be 7 in September, and it feels like yesterday, but she is the light of my life. She is my heart. And meeting Aaron, you know, you always, as a single mom, you know, you're concerned that I hope I meet the right person who's going to love my child as his own. That's right. And that's Aaron. So the three of us, you know, we're a little family, and we're very happy. We're struggling, starving artists together.
That's right.
But we support each other.
Which you won't always be, but the fact that you guys are so supportive of each other, you know, something great is going to come out of that. And especially with such a talent that you have, it's just only a matter of time. We all need that big break.
Thank you.
And yours is definitely coming. It's definitely coming. So what is in the future for Musicians of Mercy, for your career? Are you going to do any more concerts? When are we going to get a recital? Hello!
Thank you for asking. I think musicians are always under construction. And every year, you never want to be the same that you were the year before. I actually am planning the very beginning seedlings of a recital for this fall. So I'm working toward that. In the midst of that, you know, I'm freelancing. I'm a mom.
That's right.
You know, I'm a new wife. So it's, you know, I'm trying to
very
juggle
busy.
A lot of things.
And also, people need to know that the Musicians of Mercy isn't just classical music. There's jazz artists, there's rock, and there's some of everything. We are primarily classical musicians that do everything, so we would be considered crossover artists. Right. So I just want people to know, so they're like, oh, I don't know if I will come and support that if it's just Mozart, but it's not.
Every single concert is a lot of fun. I cry at every concert because I become so attached to each organization that we're supporting. And this one is very special because we'll have a lot of the kids from the school side by side with us in the orchestra, and there'll be MCs, and it'll be cool.
Special, I'm sure. Well, thank you so much for coming and talking to me and talking to my viewers, and hopefully everyone will share this on Facebook. on their Twitter feeds and all of that good stuff, so that we can really let people know about Robin Fay Massie and the Musicians of Mercy. You're the executive director. And also, please follow her, because she does so many different things. And she performs between, I would say, the DMV area, New York, Philadelphia. So she's all up and down the East Coast. So there's never a time where you won't be able to find her doing something. And that's what I love and appreciate about you as an artist and your hard work. You know, it's just been an inspiration for me as well to see someone else who just really gets it. You know, who wants to get out there and do something special. Well, and I can't wait to hear more recordings. I want to buy an album.
That's in the works.
That's right. That's right. Well, I will say we will be performing together with an artist by the name of Naj Song on a recording project very soon. So you guys will hear all about that in the future. And I'm looking forward to that recording session.
It's going to be so much fun.
It's going to be, because we're going to bring the honey. Okay?
Always.
Well, I would love for you to play a little solo Bach or something for our people on YouTube. So we'll pause.
Can I just say, I am so grateful for not only this opportunity to talk to you. I mean, I've known you for years, and the moment I met you, I knew you were special. What stands out to me about you is the fact that you're fearless. There is no challenge that if you set your mind to, that you don't conquer. I haven't seen you fall, and we all fall, but you get back up. That's what I admire about you. That's why I'm here today. That's why I support everything that you do. I'm serious. I'm very grateful to you. It's awesome to have a friend who you can trust, and you can be yourself with. None of us are perfect. You're gonna make me cry. None of us are perfect, but I admire you for being perfect and being yourself. That's what we try to do as human beings. We try to understand each other, and we have to lift each other up. And you do nothing but lift people up, and I love that about you. I admire you. I love performing with you. I love talking with you on the phone, and I love this series. This is uplifting for all of us. So I thank you. I thank Kevin behind the camera for being wonderful professionals, not only teachers, which is extremely important, but performers and friends. That is amazing to me.
It is. And so are you. Thank you so much. Now I'm going to try not to bawl as she plays.
Well, my eyes are getting wet.
I know. So we're going to take a little break, and then she's going to play a lovely rendition of something. What do you want to play?
I'm going to play a little Bach.
Okay, so she's going to play a lovely rendition of Bach for viola, and we'll be back.